As you said, that internal auditor has done an with that courier company, and since the company saved the money, and they give the increment or the price hike to the internal auditors. But I have come to some situations when you do such exercise in 1 year, and you don't repeat the same in second or third year, they say, अभी तो आपने कुछ किया नहीं, तो अभी पहले वाला ही फीस आप लो. So how to tackle such situation? Because you see, it's not every time things may not come, you know. So how to tackle the client in such a situation?
The only way I would say to go back in such situation is, while you add a lot of value, you should make enough noise about the value that you have added to the management, to the board, and to everybody else. It's very important to go back and, for example, I'll give you a measurement here, which is value meter. I've presented here. There is a quantitative value meter of a certain number of amount, let's say 50 crores added to the net profit of the company. For a company which is making 250 crores of net profit. Here's the internal auditor which made this value meter and said, I have added 50 crores. And each line item wise major observation, critical observations. If you do that, there is enough substantiation that you have done for the value that you have added.
Okay.
But you have to do that.
Okay.
Do you at the year end present a slide to the management that this is my value added?
Okay.
You remember today in any company, every department has to justify the value added because there's a cost which is being incurred.
Okay.
You also have to justify the value added. Nobody is asking you at the moment, but do you do that proactively? If you are able to do that proactively, then you are able to make enough, you are able to get enough attention from the management saying that, look, I am putting these many hours. This just doesn't happen like this. If you don't want me to add this value, I will not do this area.
Okay.
And therefore your fees, I will do only so much as the fees that you are providing.
Okay.
And therefore go very, very focused saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items in the scope. If you give me so much money, I'll be able to do this much.
Okay.
And this is going to be the scope. And the checklist also. At times you can say the areas also within that. I will not do market intelligence.
Okay.
Because market intelligence takes us 2 more days. If you don't give me the value for it. But this you can only do after year 1. You cannot do it in the year 1. Year 1 you have to take because they don't know you.
Yes.
So to take what they give you.
Exactly.
Year 2, year 3, start making enough noises.
May I ask another question also?
We will have a question answer session if you don't mind. We'll just go to that and maybe we can reserve that. Thank you. A customer project delivery, we just spoke about the go-no-go decision. So I'm again not getting into that. Value meter, there is a quantitative value meter, there is a qualitative value meter. There are areas where you are recommending certain control improvements. Like for example, you are saying that, okay, improve a 3-way match process. Okay, you are saying improve an internal control by centralizing the procurement function. Let the procurement happen centrally. It doesn't happen from the plant. Let it happen centrally. Let it not happen from regional offices. Let it happen centrally. These are the control recommendations that you are giving. They may not add you immediate value. But these are control improvements that have come in. How to measure that? It may not be measured in rupees like the value meter, but it can be measured by quantitative scoring. And there are various methods available to score an observation, saying that, okay, we didn't add to your profits, but we improved your controls. In a purchasing function, you are purchasing 500 crores worth of raw materials, and every procurement goes through this particular control of 3-way match. We are suggesting this one more control to be added in the 3-way match. Like for example, supplier invoice number should be checked and should be recorded in your system. An additional control check, for example, do that and it will improve your internal control system. Again, the moment I record the supplier invoice number, I'll be able to, although you have got a corresponding PO, corresponding GRN, everything is there, but by just putting an extra invoice number from the supplier, I'll be able to find out the supplier, sorry, the invoice number and the period, I'll be able to find out the trends of duplicate invoicing. Duplicate, many times the invoices come, and I'll go back and then prepare a PO. So there are two invoices of the same number came, and you've gone back and prepared a PO again and GRN, because all of this is ratifactory exercise. It goes back as a ratification, right? This is a control that you've added. You're saying 500 crores worth of purchase is going through this, and therefore I've improved your control environment. That has a value. It doesn't have a rupee value, but it has a value, and that has a value of, let's say, 47 points. There's a way in which the scoring gets done, for example. There is next element here, which is contemporary finding, just one or two findings. I already gave you enough examples, right? We gave an example of airline. There are two more quick examples I want to give before we move on. Contemporary findings, contemporary areas. Now, very quickly here, in an IT-enabled services company, there was one client, or there was one company which was doing a market research, specific customer required market research. It was called as a price track research. So let's say one of the clients was Nike, which is selling shoes. Nike has many competitors. Global competitors are Reebok, Adidas, and so on. Indian competitors are many, African competitors are many, British competitors are many, and so on. So the price at which Nike sells its shoes, which all the shoes have a particular facility. Like sporting, you can do running with certain shoes. There are certain qualities of the shoes, and Reebok has a similar one. Adidas has a similar one. Some of the local brands also have those facilities, right? So Nike wants to know, what is my price track? So I am the most expensive shoe seller in the world. What are the local prices prevailing of all the different suppliers in the market, international as well as local suppliers? So this company had a software, and there are many softwares which are built up these days. They crawl across the net. Or across the websites of many companies and steals the information from the websites of the companies. Like, they'll go to Amazon, they'll see what the price is of the competitors. They'll go to some of the other e-commerce players, they'll capture the price. They'll go to the company website, capture the price. They'll go to some of the other information and capture the price. And will give to Nike a market research report on the price track of one particular type of shoes. While doing this company was based out of India. While doing this, they were crawling many websites. Most of the websites were in the US. The websites very clearly said, as an IPR, and I'm sure when you read some of the most important websites like Apple and so many other websites like Nike, etc., very clearly there is a legal terms and conditions of usage. Most of the times, when Google asks us on the phone, do you agree? We say, yes, agree. We don't read the terms. We don't have to read terms because otherwise our entire life will go in reading those terms. But in this case, it was a business which was getting the data from the websites. The website clearly said, this is for the end use of customer. It is not for any crawling, or if at all anything is there, there will be a suit which will be done. You'll be liable for legal provisions, etc. So this work cannot be done in the US. Therefore, this work got outsourced to India. This outsourced service provider has now grown enough big, and it has gone overseas, and it has got an office in the US, which is doing the selling activity. They have got registered in the US also in the Companies Act of the US. They've gone enough big. Now, the way in which this is done is very deceptive. Many companies do it. The crawling happens. It happens through different IP addresses. When I open website, I'll use this IP address. When I go to the link, I'll use another IP address. It's automated. I'll use different IP addresses, very different IP addresses. So company will not come to know. But if at all company comes to know, there is going to be huge fine on IPR violation. So we studied, so for example, the internal auditor went back and studied this and said, this is the implication of the fine now. What do? Go back and take an opinion. So they said that, okay, we have taken opinion of Mr. Nair, who is a lawyer here in India. This is the opinion. There is no legal violation. The laws are not Indian. The laws are the US laws. Have you taken an opinion from the US lawyer? And not just a general attorney or general lawyer or general solicitor in the US. Have you taken an opinion from an IPR specialist? Because here are the two examples. Here are the two examples of two companies which have been sued for billions of dollars in the US for doing the crawling. So tomorrow, your business model is under question. This is one such area. I want to give you another example of the same company. This is a market research KPO, right? It works for the US timings, right? You have got many youngsters who come to this company. Most of them have different types of hair, different styles, different beard styles, and so on. These are the people who come and work in this company. Many of them are technology gigs. They're like between 25 years or 22 years to 30 years. And this is a generation, which is very, very friendly across. They gel with anybody. This is, I'm talking about right now, the BPO and the KPOs in India. And this particular client of ours, which is a market research KPO and a BPO work, it's an intelligent work, so that's why it's KPO. And most of the people were, these fancy youngsters. So when they saw, some of the male employees saw female employees in the pantry, cafe, etc., they made different comments about female employees, something or the other. Because that's a culture. They don't find that offending. Many of them have relationships in the office. In the office. Now, when the relationships happen in the office, company has nothing to do with it. But when something goes wrong, the risk is of the company. Will you talk about protecting this risk or not? There is a contemporary idea required here. Your traditional things won't work. When the auditor went back and told the management that you should do one thing, I've got one idea. All the relationships in office, if people have relationships in office, let it be reported. This has to be reported. Management laughed at that auditor. Literally laughed at that auditor, because this was an Indian company which was making some 600 crores of turnover in India, on the verge to make 100 crores and coming up with an IPO, but the management laughed. Actually, the auditor went back and showed the examples. Now, there was one recent example of one of the IT companies in India. No. That happened, but I think one of the other companies in India, where the company won the case against a female employee, saying that, okay, if you had this relationship, did you report it to the company? This is the company policy, did you do that? Had we known, we would have done enough protection to you. Did you report to us? No. That was the single clause in that policy which saved that company, an Indian IT giant, from about a few million rupees of India, and more than that, a reputation, where it got saved. What is the wrong to just put one element in the policy where you tell the employees that if you do something wrong, please disclose to us. Please disclose to us. By that, the onus is put on them. Because the risk is of the company, and the company has nothing to gain here. Has nothing absolutely about whatsoever with whatever happens with these employees, so long as they are doing their job properly. So this is another a very contemporary thinking. Therefore, there are some contemporary areas which have to be done in modern enterprises, not typical order to cash, purchase to pay, legal compliances. Other than that, I am suggesting few more areas like IPR, like succession planning. So, this is another area where doing succession planning, we were able to say that, okay, in a particular team, in a particular purchasing team, there is only one guy who is making 70% of the procurement, or there is in the marketing team or sales team, there is one team member or one employee which is handling 70% of the customers. There is not enough balance of work. There is not enough succession planning. If a person leaves, the big dependency is going with him. So succession planning, business continuity planning, safety operations, corruption and bribery, related parties, non-disclosure agreements. In non-disclosure agreements, for example, you are exposing your company to a big liability. People sign NDAs just like that. Okay, NDA, just sign it. It exposes your company to a big liability. This is a contemporary area where there is a big liability incurred by the company. Contract management, corporate governance code. These are some of the contemporary areas where an internal audit should do the job of internal audit. I have already covered cross-functional engagement. From there, we move to a partnering approach. Does internal audit partner enough? Just wrap in 2-3 minutes. So does internal audit partner enough? And that's partnering approach. And by this, what you do is, you come with the findings of substance. You don't drive yourself with a fault-finding agenda, but you get driven by an improvement agenda. And you do a success-based billing recognition, to your point. You say that, fine, if I'm able to add value, you pay me 10%. Now, these kind of billing mechanisms are presently not accepted in India as a result of our own code of ethics. But these are some of the ways which are going to come in the future as to how do you add a value and share enough in that value. That is success-based billing, success-based partnering. A holistic assurance. How do you give an holistic assurance? So if you read the definition of internal auditing has a definition. Very quickly we will take that up. Internal auditing has a basic definition. And that definition is here. Internal audit is an independent objective assurance. So there is this independent and objective assurance. And consulting activity, both. It also consults, gives advice. Designed to add value, improve organization's operations. It helps organization accomplish its objectives. A very big statement. It helps organization to accomplish its objectives by bringing a systematic, disciplined approach to evaluate and improve the effectiveness of risk management, control and governance processes, which is one of the sessions, by the way, in our coverage for the day. So, if this is the real definition of internal audit, it says independent and objective assurance. So therefore, you have to give a holistic assurance. When you say holistic assurance, you just don't go with the mentality of reporting bad things, that these are the findings. Most of the internal audit reports are finding-based reports. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 issues. 3 of them are critical, 1 of them is hard.